we need not be persuaded as a people why we must do everything in our power to conquer this invisible disease, this invisible enemy. But to do so and regain the ground we have lost, we need to come together as a nation. Each of us is called to become a shujaa against this disease. The containment measures and protocols issued by the government, while absolutely necessary, we also recognize have constrained our freedoms and indeed, as the Deputy President has just said, changed our way of life completely. I appreciate the anxiety that is weighing heavily on the minds of parents and children, particularly those preparing for the national exams. And I share the heavy hearts of all the faithful who can no longer congregate and share in worship of the Almighty. In this regard, and conscious of the emerging trend of infections, I am hereby directing that the Ministry of Education fast-tracks and finalizes the ongoing consultations with all stakeholders that will provide us with an appropriate calendar for the gradual resumption of education in the country. The guidelines should also include protocols to be followed by all learning institutions in order to guarantee not only the safety of our children, but the safety of their parents and grandparents. 2, that conscious of the fact that Kenya is a God-fearing nation, I have also directed that the Ministry of Interior, the Ministry of Health, to continue and hasten their engagement with religious leaders across the country with the objective of developing protocols that will be adopted to guide a more participatory way of worship while guaranteeing the safety of worshippers. Fellow Kenyans, I also wish today, and on behalf of an eternally grateful nation, to recognize and commend our healthcare workers for giving their all in support of our response to this pandemic. I also want to recognize our researchers and innovators, including the team of university students that designed and built a customized ventilator. The country is also indebted to the thousands of Kenyans who provided meals for our law enforcement manning checkpoints, and our artists who raised awareness of the virus through their music and artwork. But we are also forever truly grateful for our men and women in uniform who have continued to work above and beyond the call of duty to keep us safe and to ensure that rules are followed. We also recognize and commend all those who have selflessly generously supported the Coronavirus Response Emergency Fund, from the contribution of 500 shillings by a young 11-year-old called Zawadi Mtua, to the Kenya shillings 300 million personal contribution from Dr. James Mwangi and his family. We applaud every single Kenyan from every facet of society who have donated foodstuffs, clothes, sanitary items, and other support items to the fund, which have been channeled to needy and vulnerable Kenyans affected by this crisis. I thank, too, all our international development partners who have quickly responded to our needs during this difficult time. Indeed, to recognize and honor these Kenyans who have exhibited exemplary service, sacrifice, patriotism, and heroism, and a high sense of civic duty in helping steer Kenyans through the current pandemic, and on behalf of an eternally grateful nation, I have on this first day of June 2020 issued an executive order establishing a new national award and state commendation, the Presidential Order of Service, Uzalendo Award. The names of the inaugural recipients of this high national honor have been published in a special issue of the Kenya Gazette dedicated to them. Fellow Kenyans, I would like to end my address today by once again re-emphasizing the calling by our founding fathers, that they went through the fire and yet founded a nation that we call Kenya today. Their voices are calling out to each and every one of us during this moment of uncertainty. And they are telling us to be our very best in our darkest moments, just as they were. They are telling us that they fought for the liberation war for over 40 years and it came to pass. We will fight the challenges that we are faced with today, and this too shall come to pass.